Boys and girls, welcome to Emergency Management Associates, coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We want to welcome everybody who has joined us here on the Emergency Management Associates Network tonight. I'm going to wait until we get full coverage here on YouTube. It's being delayed by a couple minutes here, and I don't know why. But we will be on the air live in just a minute. Why? But we will be on the air Emergency Management. Why? But we will be on the air live. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. We don't have anybody here in the chat. I'm going to wait until we get a few people here. Demon Catman's here from the east of England. Welcome, Dean. We appreciate you being here. Renee Steppe is here with us as well. Guys, could you give me a 5x5 letting me know that this video and the audio is okay to broadcast? Ring of Light Crafts is here. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you here. Hurricane Heather is here. Welcome, Heather. We appreciate you being here. CC is here. God bless you guys for being here. Demon Catman and Renee and Hurricane Heather just gave us a 5x5. We appreciate that. Ray Spur is here giving us a 5x5. Thank you so much, guys. I'm going to continue with this broadcast now. Folks, I have a lot of information I want to talk to you about. First off, there's no major earthquakes anywhere around the globe. Again, I'm going to repeat that. There are no major earthquakes anywhere around the globe. The only large earthquake is over in Papua New Guinea. It's a 5.0. Okay, that's all. That's the biggest earthquake around. Yes, we have earthquakes all over the earth, literally. We have earthquakes from 2.0 and larger. We have tremors, 1.0 to 1.9. We have small earthquakes, 2.0 to 3.0 to 3.9, small earthquakes. We have moderate earthquakes around the globe. We have about 30 earthquakes over in Indonesia today. We have a moderate earthquake just south of Mindanao, Philippines. We have another moderate earthquake north of Japan, north of Hokkaido, Japan, in the Kuril Islands. We have another moderate earthquake over in the Aleutian Islands. Those are the biggest earthquakes we have. We have earthquakes over in Europe. That's normal. 30 earthquakes in Greece, 50 earthquakes in eastern Turkey, Syria area, 40 earthquakes over on the western shore, not the western shore, but the western side of Turkey. We have 30 earthquakes over in central Italy. We have another 10 earthquakes in France. We have 4 earthquakes in Scandinavia. Folks, USGS is not talking about it. We know that. But what I want to talk to you about tonight is very important. I have a link I'm going to show you to the Next News Network. I want to show you this link, and then we'll talk about this. This is Gary Franchi's wife talking about the Cascadia megathrust earthquake.
A chilling discovery off the west coast has experts sounding the alarm. A megaquake more powerful than anything we've seen. At any moment, triggering devastation, tsunamis, and claiming countless lives. But there's hope. Tonight we'll reveal the shocking truth about the Cascadia subduction zone and what you can do to protect yourself and your loved ones. Don't miss my final thought, how to prepare for the unthinkable. The Cascadia subduction zone, a 600-mile fault line stretching from southern Canada to northern California, has long been a source of concern for experts. But now, a groundbreaking study has revealed that this underwater threat is far more dangerous than previously believed. Using cutting-edge underwater mapping techniques, scientists have discovered that the Cascadia subduction zone is not one continuous strip, as once thought, but rather split into 4 distinct segments. This alarming finding means that the tectonic plates can slide under each other, creating immense pressure and potentially triggering a catastrophic 9.0 magnitude earthquake. The consequences of such a megaquake would be nothing short of devastating. Tsunamis reaching heights of 100 feet or more could slam into the coast, causing unimaginable damage and loss of life. In fact, experts warn that over 500,000 buildings could be destroyed, and the death toll could be staggering. We've seen the horrifying impact of a 9.0 earthquake before. In 2011, a similar event struck Japan, triggering a massive tsunami that claimed nearly 20,000 lives. The images of destruction were unfathomable, and now scientists fear that the West Coast could be next. At a recent House Science, Space, and Technology Committee hearing, Congresswoman Suzanne Bonamici pressed the Honorable Dr. Rick Spinrad on the importance of accurate tsunami warnings and preparedness.
And I've heard from many of the coastal communities, and again, you know as an Oregonian that we have the Cascadia subduction zone and risk of tsunami. I've spoken with them about the NOAA Tsunami Hazard Mitigation Program. Then that's used to raise awareness, to prepare towns for disaster. Coastal Oregon towns like Bay City, Seaside, they rely on those high quality models and timely alerts, and the residents know that the accuracy of NOAA's tsunami systems is really a matter of life and death. So NOAA's budget proposes to eliminate funding for the Tsunami Hazard Mitigation Program and reallocate that funding to improve tsunami detection technology. So similar to the IUS funds, how can NOAA work to maintain tsunami mapping, research, and education services and modernize its equipment without compromising one priority for the other?
Yeah, thank you for that question, and I share your concern with respect to tsunami response, especially for those kinds of tsunamis that the Cascadia 9.0 represents, where the ability to respond quickly is important. What we have chosen to do, what we will do with the tsunami program, is provide a common framework, and that will enhance the ability of communities to respond. Right now, our Alaska-based and Hawaii-based tsunami offices, tsunami centers, warning centers, operate with different systems, which means the warning we get to people is far from optimal. So by, if you will, providing the common framework, the common operational picture, the residents of the coastal communities in Oregon will get a better predictive product than they had before. That way we're going to ensure continuity of operations.
Dr. Spinrad acknowledged the dire need for a common framework to enhance the ability of communities to respond quickly and effectively to a Cascadia megaquake. But the reality is neither Oregon nor Washington State is sufficiently prepared for a disaster of this magnitude. The current emergency response models are based on outdated low-quality data from the 1980s. It's a frightening prospect considering that a rupture along the Cascadia subduction zone could last up to 5 minutes and unleash untold devastation. I think we've seen it strike at it.
Okay, I'm going to end it there, and I'm going to bring it out towards the end of our conversation here. I think this is really necessary to know what's happening. Okay, she put up a video from Washington State showing the quake alert system, but we all have been talking about that in the past. I want you to see the end of this report.
When the next catastrophic quake will strike. If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. The threat of a catastrophic Cascadia mega quake is real, and the consequences could be devastating. But there is hope. By taking action now, by preparing ourselves and our communities, we can save countless lives when the unthinkable strikes. It's time for a national effort to bolster our early warning systems, to educate the public, and to ensure that every man, woman, and child along the West Coast has a fighting chance.
Okay, that's exactly our message. That's why we've been talking about this for such a very long time. We want to make sure every man, woman, and child has a fighting chance. That's why we've been talking about making sure you and your families have an emergency preparedness plan. We want to make sure everybody has a chance. This is not just you and I. This involves our families, our loved ones, our children and grandchildren, our neighbors and friends. We must get this word out that this Cascadia megathrust earthquake is about to happen. Now, Earlier, Miss Franchi was talking about this earthquake, and she said it's already over 300 years since the earthquake hit. It's 34 years past due. This earthquake is 34 years past due. At this point in time, this earthquake could hit at any moment. I don't give it much more than 5 years. Some scientists have been saying that this earthquake could happen within the next 50 years. I do not think it's got that long. I absolutely don't think we have that much longer here on the Cascadia side. Okay? It's not just Washington and Oregon. As I've been preaching, it's not just Washington and Oregon. We spoke about this last night. This earthquake is going to be felt as far north as Alaska. As far north as Alaska. The Cascadia subduction zone reaches up to Queen Charlotte Island, British Columbia. However, there's another fault zone that comes out of the Aleutian Islands. That fault zone is also connected to the northern part of the Cascadia subduction zone, and it's going to carry the shock waves of this quake up to Alaska. As I spoke before, the Cascadia subduction zone reaches down to Northern California, down to what they call the Triple Junction, where the Gorda Escarpment comes away from the California coast. The San Andreas Fault is connected at the Gorda Escarpment to the Cascadia subduction zone. The Cascadia subduction zone is going to trigger the San Andreas Fault. And as a result, that whole area from northern Cal, from all the way up into Canada, all the way down to Mexico, the entire west coast of the United States is at risk. And the west coast of Canada. Okay? Delete Funds is asking, didn't you get involved with the Cascadia earthquake drills? Yes, I did. I helped conduct the first drill. The first drill happened, I believe, 2005. We did the first drill in 2005. We centered it out of Spokane, Washington. Spokane, Washington was our headquarters. We involved Canadian forces. We involved Canadian officials and their military. We involved Washington officials, police departments, sheriff's departments, and National Guard. We involved Idaho, Montana, Wyoming. We involved all of Oregon. We had law enforcement, fire, and medical personnel from all over Washington, Canada, Oregon, and even out into, like I said, Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming. We had people from as far south as Northern California. Unfortunately, we didn't have at that time the education we do now, knowing that California will be greatly affected because the Cascadia megathrust earthquake will be triggering the San Andreas Fault. Okay? I want to make sure everybody is very clear about that. We talked significantly about it last night. Now, please, folks, do not give us all capital letters. If you want to put up a chat here in the chat, I don't care if you have the beginning of a sentence that's capitalized. Beginning of a sentence, the first letter of every sentence capitalized. But only do not put up all caps in the chat. Your chat will be removed as it's already been done by one of our mods. Now, folks, there's a lot of things that are going to happen. Okay? Like I said, I was involved in the first one, and the second one, I was involved by it remotely. Okay? I was involved remotely. Now, Randy Spence came up here and said what happened to Baldwin. I am not Baldwin. Some people say I look like Baldwin, but I am not Baldwin. Okay? Please stay on topic here. I'm not going to answer any more questions that are off topic. But what I want to do today, and I wanted to have a members only chat earlier, but I couldn't get the software to operate on members only. I'm going to work on that in the next few days. I want to start having members only chats here. Anyway, folks, this is very important. I want to make sure you understand the importance of this. Okay? I don't want to even flap my gums. This is important. This is vitally important for all of your safety. Everyone's safety. Okay? I don't know how to more strongly word this. It's our safety. Now, what I wanted to do tonight before I found the Franchi's Next News Network blurb about the Cascadia quake, I wanted to turn this chat into questions. I'm willing to answer questions. I want questions and answers here. Folks, I want that. I want to get your questions because I want to know what you're thinking. I want to know how we can help you. Kramer Wells is asking, how bad do you think the liquefaction will be at the Pacific Northwest? The liquefaction will occur from Alaska south to northern Mexico. Anytime you have earth shaking as powerful as this, it's going to bring up the groundwater. Liquefaction brings up the groundwater. Shaking brings up the groundwater, which makes all the loamy soil and sand turn into quicksand. Okay? Now, scientists have done significant studies. I have been to emergency preparedness fairs where I've had what they call a shake table, where I've had about 3 cups of water in the top of the shake table. Above that, I've had sand and dirt, loamy soil. When I turned on the motor to shake the table, guess what? The groundwater underneath that loamy soil rises up and turns it into quicksand. Everything that's sitting on top of the ground sinks. Telephone poles, cars, buildings, houses, people. Telephone poles will fall down. Cars are going to sink into the loamy soil. Houses and buildings are going to sink into the loamy soil. How far will they sink? We don't know. That depends on the area where the houses and buildings are. For example, where where my dear friend Don Patoka lives, I used to live there. There's a reason that town is called Sandy. There's a reason that town is called Sandy. Over many, many years ago, hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years ago, that area of the Salt Lake area used to be covered by what they called Lake Bonneville. Thousands and thousands of miles of Lake Bonneville, an inland lake here in the western United States. That lake departed, and it turned into a desert area. That desert area today is covered by sand and loamy soil. When that megathrust earthquake happens on the west coast of the United States, it's going to sink everything. That soil is going to turn into quicksand, just like what's going to happen when we have that earthquake in Utah. I've talked about the Wasatch Fault going in Utah. Just like Miss Franchi talked about 4 segments on the northernmost part of the Cascadia subduction zone, the Wasatch Fault has 7 segments, going from as far north as southern Idaho all the way down to central Utah. The Wasatch Fault is capable of a 7.5 earthquake. Any one segment from southeastern Idaho all the way down to central Utah. Any one segment could have a 7.0, 7.5 earthquake, or every segment. All 7 segments at the same time having a 7.0, 7.5 earthquake. The same is a fact with the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. It's going to happen the same way. Okay? But in this case, the Cascadia subduction zone is as far north as the southern part of Queen Charlotte Island, British Columbia. It goes as far south as Petrolia, California, Northern California. But like I said yesterday, and I've said for many years now, the Cascadia subduction zone is going to trigger the San Andreas Fault. So the San Andreas Fault is still going to carry that major seismic signals all the way down to northern Mexico, Southern California, northern Mexico. It's bad. It's bad. Sweet Pollard Purebreds here in the chat saying she's read that the hazard for Santa Cruz if they have a 9 liquefaction episode. It's true. Lady Pamela says could possibly be higher. I don't think it's any more higher than the 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. It's going to be a very dangerous earthquake. Delete Funds is asking, Ron, could this lead to a national and global impacts? Yes. As I stated yesterday, and I've stated it many times before, the Cascadia subduction zone earthquake, 9.0, 10.0 magnitude earthquake, is going to be felt from Alaska south to northern Mexico and across the entire North American continent, Canada, and the United States. It's definitely going to have a national impact. As the seismic signals scatter across the entire North American continent, Canada, and the United States, by the time it reaches New York City or any other city on the east coast of the United States, it might be a large to very strong earthquake 6.0. But, as I stated, this is a very, very strong quake. It's going to rattle the east coast of the United States and Canada. Okay? Heidi Petrick says she lives in a mobile home park. How sturdy are these houses in a large earthquake? Heidi, I'm going to tell you and everybody else. I'm sorry, those homes won't make it. Those homes will not make a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. They just won't. No matter how secure the steel cables are that hold that house to the ground, to the foundation, to the concrete foundation below it. Some homes are not connected to the earth at all. They will fall off the cinder blocks that they're sitting on and will be turned over. They're not sturdy at all. Yes, they're good homes, but they're in an earthquake or a tornado, they're not sturdy at all. Okay? Lady Pamela says find other secure areas to go. Some people don't have the money for anything but a mobile home. Some people don't. And I totally understand that. I've spoken to many people that live in mobile homes. There's a reason they picked a mobile home. Okay? Don Patoka in Sandy, Utah. He's here in the chat. Don Patoka says his house likely will not make it through the quake. He lives along the Wasatch Fault. He lives within 5 to 7 miles from the Wasatch Fault going west away from the fault. His house likely won't make it. My home where I used to live, just blocks away from Dawn, maybe just a quarter of a mile away from Dawn, my house wouldn't make it either. Okay? Heidi Patrick says she agrees. I can rattle the walls easily. My old home wouldn't survive one either. No, it won't, unfortunately. Hurricane Heather says 30 miles west of Redding, California, not good chances. She says she lives close to that too. She does. You folks that I speak to frequently, every day, a lot of you folks live within the area where you're going to feel the most shaking, where you're going to see the property destroyed. Great big huge fissures in the earth open up. You're going to see this. Joanne K is asking, do you think this will trigger more volcanic eruptions along with the quake? Yes. As I said the other day, or I said all week long anyway, anywhere where you have subduction, and yes, the Pacific plate is subducting under the North American plate. The Pacific plate is subducting under Canada, Alaska, and the mainland United States. It's subducting. It's taking a deep nosedive under the earth here at the North American continent. Miles and miles inland. The whole place is going to shake like it's never shaken before. Carl Smith is here in the chat. He says he has a contact of someone he knows. They plan to leave California to get where he is during the next month, hopefully. I only can hope that happens. I have family there as well. My son and many other people that I am very close to live in San Diego. I have family in Los Angeles. I have family and friends over in San Francisco. I have family and friends all over the west coast of the United States, and I have friends up into Western Canada. I know exactly what all of you are going to go through. Simon Truth says, seems like houses in Lebanon won't make it either way they're heading. I agree. I don't think they will. I don't think they will. Do any of you have any questions about anything we've been talking about, or other questions that I can answer for you? Like I said, tonight, I wanted to open up for everybody to ask questions that are on your mind, as long as they have to do with emergency management or emergency and preparedness. I'll be happy to answer any questions along those lines. Peacemaker is asking, what kind of timeline are we looking at for a Cascadia eruption? The Cascadia megathrust earthquake is probably not going to be any more than 5 years away. Given all the earthquakes that have happened in the last few years, I do not expect the Cascadia megathrust earthquake to go past 5 years. It's going to happen. As for volcanic eruptions, I believe within the next 6 months to a year that Mount St. Helens is going to erupt. Mount Rainier will probably be right behind it, if not at the same time. Other volcanoes from southern Canada all the way down into California and Mexico are going to also erupt. We've been telling you about this. We've been showing you evidence of it for a very long time. Okay? It's going to happen. There will be volcanic eruptions on the west coast of North America. It's a fact. Anywhere where we have subduction, meaning one plate subducting under the other like this, there's going to be earthquakes and volcanoes. You can't have subduction without volcanoes, and you can't have volcanoes without subduction. Okay? Richard Smith is asking, could the Chetabucto fault open up soon and make Nova Scotia wasteland? I don't think that fault will open up like that. Yes, there's going to be an earthquake, Richard, but I don't think it's going to open up and turn it into a wasteland. It's going to shake like nothing else before. I can almost guarantee that. Okay? It's going to happen. Michael Shane says he didn't say fear-mongering, speculative, does have observations and potential, but if it actually happens, it's going to cause all kinds of nightmares, including Yellowstone. Michael, I'm going to tell you right now, and I've been saying this to a lot of people throughout the years, I do not believe that Yellowstone is going to erupt anytime soon. It doesn't have the potential. It does not have the potential to erupt anytime soon. I've been monitoring Yellowstone since I was a wee little kid. We have had earthquakes in the Yellowstone area. In 1959, there was a very major earthquake. In 1959, they had an earthquake over at a lake just west of Yellowstone, Hebgen Lake. It was called the Hebgen Lake quake, Hebgen Lake earthquake, Hebgen Lake earthquake. It was at least a 7.0 earthquake. It was at least a 7.0 earthquake. Now they're saying it was probably closer to an 8.0. Just like they're saying that the New Madrid earthquake was possibly a 3.0 earthquake. Now they're saying that also was probably an 8.0 plus earthquake. Okay? I'm just telling you. Don Patoki just put up in the chat that Yellowstone is very well vented. The vents are the geysers. The vents in the Yellowstone volcano are the geysers. The geysers are releasing steam. The geysers are releasing impactful steam and shaking. Whenever there's a geyser eruption in Yellowstone, it relieves some shaking and steam from the volcano. But we have not had over a 4.5 earthquake in the Yellowstone itself area, in the Yellowstone Park area. Yes, we've had tremors. Yes, we've had minor and small earthquakes. The largest earthquake we've had at Yellowstone has been a 4.5. Even though we've had a 4.5 there, just west of Yellowstone at Hebgen Lake, we had at least a 7.0, 8.0 earthquake. Just because we have a major earthquake anywhere near Yellowstone does not mean we're going to have a Yellowstone volcanic eruption. It just doesn't work that way. Sweet Polly Purebred is asking, did the recent cave-in with the Teton Road in Wyoming have anything to do with an earthquake? No, it did not. That was more a landslide than anything. The Teton Road earth movement, was more of a landslide. Okay? Yes, they've had rain over there. That's one of the reasons the land slid. Okay? Saturation of the soil. And now Heather's saying exactly what I said. Saturation from heavy rain. That's good. Thank you, Heather. You're awesome. Now, do any of you have any other questions regarding nuclear facilities, earthquakes, subduction, volcanoes, or anything else of that nature? And Al is asking nuclear facilities. I talked about nuclear facilities the other day, and I'll talk about it again now. Yes, we have nuclear facilities up and down the entire West Coast. When this earthquake happens, the nuclear facilities will be affected. Depending on the severity of the quake and where the quake is and the nuclear facilities are in that area will depend on how bad the facilities will be damaged. No, the nuclear facilities have not been planned to have a 9.0, 10.0 earthquake. It's very likely that those facilities will be destroyed. And then there will be a release of radiation, just like they had at Fukushima in Japan in 2011. It's unreal. It's unreal. Sungazer says, they want to leave California job impossible prices. Yes, California jobs, folks, this past week, California lost 10,000 jobs almost overnight. They raised the minimum wage to $20 an hour. Almost instantly, 10,000 jobs went away. Why? Because employers can't pay those kinds of wages any longer. They can't. The economy will not support $20 an hour. Governor Newsom should never allow that to happen. Notice I called his name Newscum. Newsom is scum. Newscum is leading California to hell. Newscum is leading California to hell in a handbasket. Okay? It's true. Carl is asking, when do you think more activity is going to happen near or on the East Coast other than the new Madrid activity? Carl, I'm going to tell you and everybody else, we have increasing seismic activity on the East Coast. We've been having upwards of 4.04 point activity here in North Carolina. That's just during the last month and a half. 4.5 moderate earthquake activity here in North Carolina alone. And earthquakes up and down the entire Eastern Continental Divide. And a 5.0 earthquake 3.5 years ago, right before I came here. Right before I came here. August 2021. 45 miles north of here, up in the mountains, on the Eastern Continental Divide. There was a town that was devastated. It lived through it. Homes fell off foundations. Buildings were deemed uninhabitable because of a 5.0, 5.1 earthquake. I've got pictures of it. I visited that town in August 3 years ago. I saw what happened. So we have had 5.0 earthquakes here in North Carolina. We've been having earthquakes from New Jersey, well, actually further north than that, up into Canada, all the way south into Georgia. Okay, that's happened. That's happened. And it's going to happen again and again and again. Okay? SunGager says all the apartment complexes that went up there, all $2,450 a month for a one-bedroom apartment. Isn't that something? Here where I live, I've got a two-bedroom apartment and it's now $1,100 a month for me. And I've lived here 3 years. For people that are just moving into this complex, a two-bedroom apartment is going to be $1,400 a month. If I stay here after August, my rent is going to be almost $1,100 a month, and I'm trying to find a new place to live. We can't really afford $1,100 a month. SunGager says if you don't have a mate or a roommate, you can't rent anything if you're single. Pretty much true. Pretty much true. Richard Smith has just reported another 3.0 earthquake over by Mindanao, Philippines, the largest island in the southern Philippines. We've seen 6.5 and 7.4 earthquakes over in Davao, Philippines, in the southern part of Mindanao, Philippines, just 2 years ago. We've seen those kind of earthquakes hit in southern Mindanao, Philippines. Shirley Dean says, yes, it seems like the government is trying to drive people out, but California is a beautiful state. I agree. California is a very beautiful state. I lived there for 27 years. I used to say I would never move from there because I love the beaches. Yes, I used to surf a lot. But during the last few years that I was in San Diego, I never even saw the beach. I had been working so much that I never even saw the beach. So when an opportunity came in Denver, I took it. And I moved away from California in April 2000, after 27 years there. Sungazer says they wish they could find something for $1,000, $1,200 a month, but it's impossible. I understand. I totally get that. Catherine Sigerson over in Canada says she has a cute little ugly house she paid $15,000 for 21 and a half years ago. So she created no rent for herself. I totally understand that. I wish I had been able to do that. She only pays her bills and taxes. Catherine, you're very lucky. You're very lucky. That's why for years before now, people were saying, buy a house. Buy a house. Houses have equity. Anytime you buy a house, you almost have instant equity in that house, in a lot of cases. Unreal. Don Patoga says, went down to Huntington Beach, it was great. I totally agree. Huntington Beach is absolutely beautiful. I've been there. I just removed somebody here because they were talking about something other than what we're talking about. And I don't want to deal with that right now. Sungazer said they just paid $80 for gas 4 days ago, and it's at half a tank. A half a tank of gas for $80. I feel bad because I paid $40 for a full tank the other day. I paid $40 full tank the other day. It's crazy. Carl Smith says, might as well buy land and live in a shed these days. I agree. But even sheds are expensive. You can't even buy a shed for less than $2,000 to $4,000. Then you have to buy a plot of land to put on it. And the plot of land is going to cost you $20,000 to $30,000 at least, depending on where you're going to live. Catherine Sigerson says $40 is a dream to fill her vehicle for that. I understand that up in Canada. Gas prices up in Canada are nuts. Insane. Canadian Patriot 1, who's not in the chat, I don't believe, tonight, he and I are very good friends. He lives over in the southeastern part of Canada, over near Quebec. We talked about gas prices there. They're insane. Sungator says, no, that was for a full tank for $80. I get that. I totally get $80 for a full tank of gas. Aubrey's saying that the government keeps shutting down tiny homes or on homesteads. I totally get that. I've seen it happen. I've been watching house prices. I've been watching tiny homes, and the government does not want people to buy tiny homes or anything else. What the government wants to do is buy up our property. What the government here in the United States wants to do is buy up all the property, where we don't own it, but the government does. And Biden has said that the government will own everything that you have, and you will be happy with that. I'm sorry, Mr. Biden, you're full of crap. You are full of crap. Biden needs to be taken out of office and thrown in prison for the short part of life he has left. And not just Biden, but all of his administration, every one of them. All of his advisors, Kamala Harris, everybody needs to be taken out of their offices and thrown in prison. Everybody. Everybody. Unreal. Unreal. Now, I may have missed some questions here. I'm going to try to go back here and see if we've had any questions I missed. Richard Smith says he wants to go find a good cave. I'd like to find a good cave. I would love to find a good cave right now. Sungazer said she had a dream about San Diego. It's going to be flooded. San Diego is being flooded right now. Heavy rains and flooding going on. It's insane. Yes, San Diego, just a few months ago, had heavy rain because of the huge cyclone that was off the coast of California. All of California is being rained out and flooded. Los Angeles as well. I saw heavy rains all over San Diego, and areas of San Diego that hardly ever flood got flooded out. Homes destroyed in San Diego because of the floodwaters. That happens. Sungator says she doesn't know how seniors can afford anything. I agree. I don't know how seniors can afford anything. I'm a senior, and my wife and I are literally being driven out of the market. I'm sorry to say. Captain Sigerson says, find your cave where it already burned. Yes. Sungator says her dream was about a week ago. San Diego is being flooded out, guys. When San Diego gets heavy rains, it's bad. Back, I believe, was probably 96, 97 time period, there was a tropical storm that blew into San Diego. And I was working that afternoon. Water was up to my shins. I was out on the road trying to help people that had stalled out their cars. Later that evening, I was helping pull people out of San Diego Harbor because people had been too stupid and not followed the Coast Guard warnings to stay off small boats. They were out on the harbor in small boats, and the boats were being driven into concrete or wood pilings where there were piers. The boats were being destroyed. I had a great big huge thick rope tied at the back of my belt in the back of my body. Great big huge rope, and the other end tied to my police car. My captain and I were both tied off to our police cars, and our partners were backing the cars up, helping us pull people out of the water. I know what tropical storms are. Later that night, I got called into downtown San Diego because San Diego police couldn't get to the part of San Diego where a woman had called and said she was trapped inside a high-rise building. She got to the bottom floor and water was up to her waist inside the building. Again, I had my partner tie a heavy-duty rope to my pants, to my belt, and I went over into the building and grabbed that lady, tied a rope around her, and tied her off to me, and my partner pulled us both through the heavy-duty flowing waters in downtown San Diego and helped pull her to safety. Yeah, I know what high water is and flooding in San Diego. I know all about it, unfortunately. Hurricane Heather says, Vamster, I believe today will be the last day for Florida floods. Folks, for the past 2 or 3 days, Florida's got hammered by a cyclone. It's the first storm of the hurricane season to hit western Florida and the entire peninsula of Florida. People lost their homes there. People have died over in Florida as a result of that huge storm. Pretty much today and or tomorrow, that storm should be finished, we hope. We hope. We hope. Okay? Hurricane Heather says her bad tomorrow. We hope tomorrow will be the end of that storm. I hope. Okay? Do you guys have any more questions for me? I want to answer as many questions as I possibly can. I've done a lot of talking. We talked about a lot of earthquakes. We talked a lot about all kinds of seismic activity around the globe. We talked about floods. We talked about all kinds of things hitting all over the world. I want to get and answer your questions. I wanted to open up the good share of the night to answer your questions about things going on. Mert is asking what in the chat. Mert is asking what they need to do if an earthquake happens. What's the smartest notion or idea? That's a good question. We've talked a lot about earthquakes. We've talked a lot about emergency preparedness. What's the smartest thing to do before, during, or after an earthquake? Folks, I've done a lot of soul searching about that. I pulled a lot of information over the years. I now have probably 14,000 pages of information when it comes what to do about an earthquake, what to do before, during, and after an earthquake. I'm going to pull some information now to maybe help you understand what to do. We've talked a lot about this over the past years. I'm going to talk more about it right now since you guys asked about it. Okay? Everybody needs to know. Everyone needs to know. Those kinds of things are not dumb questions. There are no dumb questions. I want to make that perfectly clear. There are no dumb questions. Okay? Now, what to do before and after an earthquake strikes. Okay? I have all kinds of planning issues. I have all kinds of planning information. But this is specifically before and after an earthquake strikes. Okay? I'm pulling up the document right now. Just a second here. Now, I put this document together 4 years ago, April 8th, 2022. I've been doing emergency preparedness fairs. I've been doing emergency preparedness talks all over the U.S., literally. I've been doing fairs and talks and all kinds of things. I may even write a book with all the information I have. Before the earthquake strikes, if you are at risk from earthquakes, you need to pick safe places in each room of your house. You need to pick safe places, guys, in each room of your home. A safe place could be under a sturdy table or desk, or against an interior wall away from windows, away from bookcases, away from tall furniture that could fall on you. Okay? The shorter distance you move to safety, the less likely you will be injured. The shorter distance you have to move when the earth starts shaking, the less likely you're going to be injured. Injury statistics show that people moving as little as 10 feet during earthquake shaking, are most likely to be injured. People that live or move as little as 10 feet are most likely to be injured. You need to pick safe places in your offices, your school, and other buildings that you're frequently in. Now, you need to practice. What I'm telling you now is you need to practice this. You need to practice drop, cover, and hold on. Drop, cover, and hold on. Drop underneath a sturdy desk or a table. Hold on to at least one leg or two legs of the table or the desk, and make sure your head and or your body are underneath that desk or table. Drop, cover, and hold on. Okay? Drop, cover, and hold on. Drop underneath a heavy-duty table or a desk. If you can't find a sturdy table or a desk, or you're afraid that the object you've decided to hold on to may fall on you, cover your face and head with your arms and crouch into an inside corner of a building. Crouch into an inside corner of the building that you're in, away from windows, an inside wall, an inside corner of the building. Okay? Drop to your fanny, cover your face and head with your arms, and crouch into an inside corner of the building. Protect your eyes by keeping your head down. Practice these actions so they become an automatic response. Dustin Keglig just gave us another $10 super chat. God bless you, Dustin. Thank you so much. I again just gave you an emergency management sticker on your super chat. Thank you so much, Dustin. I appreciate that. Now, what I'm telling you is very important. It used to be that, and I practiced this when I was living in California before I moved to Denver, they used to tell you to go underneath the great big huge piece of wood in your doorway. Going underneath that great big huge piece of wood in your doorway. Folks, I'm telling you right now, it doesn't do much of anything. It doesn't help steady you when the earth is shaking. When the walls of your home and the glass of your windows look like the waves in the ocean. It doesn't do much to protect you. When the walls or I should say the ceilings are falling around you. And yes, pieces of my ceiling were falling in my bedroom and in my living room. And I thought to myself, this is not a good place. So I ran over to my front door, flung open the front door, and stood under that great big huge wooden plate above my door. Then I realized there was a concrete landing just outside my doorway. The neighbor that lived above me had a concrete landing, and pieces of concrete from her landing were falling down on the ground in front of me. The ground was still shaking. I had previously been in bed when the earthquake hit at 7 a.m. in the morning on a Sunday morning. Earthquake threw me to the ground underneath a 4-foot long plate glass window. That was not a good thing. I knew that because I looked up and saw the glass moving like the waves in the ocean. I threw myself onto the bed, grabbed my pants and the shirt, threw those pants on with a pair of shoes, and ran like the devil to my bedroom door. Then over to my front door. And like I said, the ground was still shaking. And I've told this story before here, but I know there's new people here. I ran out into the courtyard of my apartment complex where there was no light poles, where there was no trees or any other buildings that could fall on me. I thought it was safe there. That is until a little old Indian man from an Indian tribe called the Barona Indian tribe over there in East County, San Diego. That little old man ran out of his apartment and grabbed hold of me and was squeezing the air out of my lungs. Then my neighbor from above me, where I told you she lived above me, and the concrete landing that she entered her apartment in, the pieces of concrete were falling in front of me. She ran down off of her landing, down the stairs, and threw her arms around me and the Indian man. And they began squeezing the life out of me. They were scared. The earth was still shaking. It was then that I heard water sloshing out of the pool. At first I didn't realize that we even had a pool. Yes, we did. I swam in that pool. But waves of water were sloshing out of the pool, and I heard that. Waves of water were sloshing out of the pool. And I realized that's not good either. And then I realized the earth was still shaking. The earth shook for several minutes. Several minutes. Then after a short time, the earthquake stopped. The two people who were squeezing the life out of me let me go a little bit. And then I tried wiggling my way out from their grasp, and I put my arms on their hands on their shoulders, and I asked them if they were all right. When I knew they were okay, I gave each of them a hug, and we re-entered our apartment. But I told them then, if the earth starts shaking again, come back outside. That's what I told them then. Now the information that the scientists and the researchers have found is to stay underneath that table or a sturdy desk. That is the safest place you could be. Duck, cover your body, and hold on to the legs of the table or desk. Okay? That's the best place you could be. Okay? Sun Gager says, with the fires, I realized the most important things that you have are your shoes and your keys. Always know where they're at. Absolutely. Now I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. Okay? I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. I'm glad you said that, Sun Gazer. Again, protect your eyes while you're underneath that table or desk. Okay? If you have glasses, make sure you have your glasses on. Okay? Practice these actions so they become an automatic response. You need to have this as an automatic response to save your own life or those lives of your children or other family members. Okay? When an earthquake or other disaster occurs, many people hesitate, trying to remember what they were supposed to do. Responding quickly and automatically may help protect you from injury. Heather's talking about having a go bag, a 72-hour kit, and boots and keys by the door at all times. I totally agree that that's a good idea. Practice that drop, cover, and holding on at least twice a year. At least twice a year. Frequent practice will help you reinforce safe behavior. Now, once you are in your safe place, stay there until the shaking stops. Then, check to see if you are hurt. Check to see if you yourself are hurt. This is important because in the haste and the anxiety of the moment when the ground is shaking, we forget that some part of our body may have gotten hurt. Okay? Take care of yourself first. Then, check the people that are around you. If you have small children, keep them with you when you go underneath that desk or table. And hold on. Keep your children there and teach them the same safety etiquette. Move carefully. Move carefully and watch out for things that may have fallen or are broken on the floor or ground. Make sure you have sturdy shoes on. Make sure you have sturdy shoes on. Okay? Make sure you have sturdy shoes on. How many times have I said that? 3 times. If I say it more than once, that means it's important. Make sure you have sturdy shoes on. Now, women, I understand you women love to have your little flat shoes. Those little flat shoes won't help you much if a nail or a piece of glass is on the floor or the ground and you step on it. It'll go right through those little flat shoes, right into your little feet and hurt you. Don't do that. Avoid getting hurt. Avoid getting hurt. Move carefully and watch out for things that may have been fallen or broken, creating more hazards to look out for. Be ready for any additional aftershocks. Be ready for any additional aftershocks. Now, some of you are talking about the sun and solar flares. Yes, we have had solar flares, coronal mass ejections, even very dangerous X-class flares. Now, I have given you sources in our program descriptions every night after I get off the air. Mark Wages has a channel called Wages World here on YouTube. He is probably the best YouTuber when it comes to gathering information about the solar flares, coronal mass ejections, and the dangerous things as a result of those flares. Go over to Wages World and look at what he has there. And yes, I believe it was yesterday he put up another video, and it's a very important video. Okay? Wages World here on YouTube. Okay? These coronal mass ejections, solar flares, and those solar flares reach out with plasma radiation coming from the sun. And that plasma radiation comes to the earth just like this. And it inundates the earth facing the sun. The other day it was the United States that got hit bad. The United States was the earth facing part of the sun during daylight hours. The U.S. got hit. Delete Fund says wages, absolutely. WAGES, Wages World. Okay? Wages World here on YouTube. Mark Wages is a great man. Okay? I believe he's going to have another program tonight. Watch Wages World tonight. Okay? He's got a lot of great information about what's going on. He's also having another members only chat. I wanted to have that before I came on the air today, but YouTube wasn't having any part of it. I tried. I'm going to try again and again and again until I can make it happen. Okay? But again, move carefully and watch out for things that have fallen and broken, or any additional aftershocks. If you have had a decent earthquake, you're going to have aftershocks. Earthquakes after the main shaker. Okay? It's going to happen. Catherine Sigerson says no slip boots or shoes. Do not put on slip-on shoes. During or after an earthquake, those slip-on shoes or boots could come off. Put on heavy-duty shoes and or boots. Those will help best protect your feet, as you may have to walk or run out of the area. Okay? Bob Knobber says, I feel like I absolutely cannot seem to get away from possible tragedy with the ocean less than a mile from here. Not to mention, I cannot move here fast enough. Any suggestions? Ra or Bob, do your best. Do your best. I used to live in San Diego. I used to drive from where I lived, and I lived in several areas in North San Diego County, and even over in East San Diego County. I used to go to the beach, over to La Jolla Shores. There were people there with small, beautiful homes, and large, beautiful homes, that lived within 5 or 10 minutes of the beach, sometimes right at the beach. I met a lot of good people there. But that is not a good place after a major earthquake. It's not. A major earthquake could cause a tsunami. A major earthquake could cause a tsunami. Not a good thing. We talked about tsunamis in regards to the Cascadia megathrust earthquake. That tsunami will be at least a 50 to 150 foot high tsunami. Fact. After an earthquake, be on the lookout for fires. Fire is the most common earthquake-related hazard due to broken gas lines, damaged electrical lines or appliances, and previously contained fires or sparks could be released again. Fires could be rekindled and turned into a major blaze. Watch out for fire after an earthquake. If you must leave a building after the shaking stops, use the stairs. Do not, absolutely do not get into an elevator. Do not get into an elevator. Earthquakes can cause fire alarms. Fire sprinklers could go off. You will not be certain whether there's a real threat of fire or if the earth starts shaking again. If the earthquake damaged that elevator, it's not going to go anywhere. If it didn't damage the elevator during the first shaking, the second shaking could cause that elevator to fail and you will be trapped. We've all seen movies where this has happened. Don't get into an elevator during or after the earthquake. Don't do it. Don't do it. Use the stairs. Use the stairs in your building to escape the building after the earthquake. If you're Central Peru has had a 5.0 earthquake that came out as a lot stronger, but they've downgraded it to a 5.0 in Central Peru. If you are outside during an earthquake, stay outside. If you're outside during an earthquake, stay outside. Okay? Stay outside. Stay away from buildings. Stay away from trees. Stay away from streetlights and power lines. Stay away from anything that could fall on you. Crouch down towards the ground. Stay as close to the ground as possible and cover your head in case anything in the area could possibly be thrown out at you. Many injuries occur within 10 feet of the entrance to buildings. Stay away from any building. Stay far away from any building. Materials can fall off of buildings. We've seen it happen. And things falling from buildings can injure or kill people that are nearby. During the latest major earthquake in Davao, Philippines, on Mindanao, Philippines, on the southern part of Mindanao, Philippines, they had a 7.4 earthquake, several of them, for many days. 7.2, 6.9, 7.4 earthquakes hit Davao, Philippines day after day. There was water sloshing out of the top pools on the top of the buildings. Water was sloshing out of the pools on the top of the buildings. Rocks fell off the buildings. Bricks fell off the buildings. Glass came out of the buildings. That also happened in San Diego City in August or April 3rd, 2010, when just south of the border, Guadalupe, Victoria, Mexico, just south of the border, they had a 7.1 earthquake. Glass was flung from windows in the top stories of skyscrapers in San Diego. Stay away from buildings. Stay far away from buildings. Catherine Sigerson said she dug a foot into the ground and hit rock. That's very common. That's very common here where I live right now. You don't have to dig more than 6 or 8 inches and you're going to hit stone. Fact. Fact. Now, if you employ babysitters or have guests or caregivers in your home, inform everyone, guests, babysitters, caregivers, of your emergency plan. You need to write an emergency preparedness plan. Everyone in your home should know what to do if an earthquake occurs. Assure yourself that others will respond properly if you're not at home during the earthquake. Well, guess what? If you're not home during an earthquake, you may not be able to get home. And if you're able to get home, you'll be lucky. Okay? First responders may not be able to get to you for days. First responders, police, paramedics, and firefighters may not be able to get to you for days. That's why we ask everybody to make sure you have a go bag or a 72-hour kit or more than that, because you're going to have to take care of yourself for many days after the major disaster happens. You're going to have to take care of yourself because there's nobody else. And you may have to protect yourself from robbers or people that want to steal what you have. Okay? You may have to protect yourself. Now, I'm not going to specify anything exactly but a flashlight or something like that, or a golf club, or a 2x4. But you need to be able to practice how you're going to prepare to protect yourself. Okay? You need to have those things that you need to have to protect yourself. You all know that most of the time I have something on my side 24/7. It's either right on my side or at night it's in a drawer right next to me. Or it's underneath my mattress where I can get at it. Because I am going to protect myself and my family. Hurricane Heather says you're going to be your own first responder after a disaster. And Heather is exactly right. Okay? You will be your own first responder. Okay? Now, Don Patoga's also again put up a lot of good stuff here in the chat. Condition number 1. Leaving supplies, security, and familiar equipment behind if you're trying to get away from a disaster or an emergency. You're going to become a vulnerable refugee. A vulnerable refugee. You're going to face traffic issues, vehicles breaking down, no gas, roadblocks, civil unrest, and chaos. That's why in the past we've been asking everybody, while writing your emergency preparedness plan, to have an evacuation route. And if you have an evacuation route, where are you going to evacuate to? You need to have at least 3 places you can go to. You need to have 3 places you can go to. And before you go to those 3, any one of those 3 places, after a disaster, before the disaster happens, you need to visit those places so that you know for a fact that you can go there after an emergency or disaster happens. Visit those 3 places. Visit them and make sure you have a place to stay when a disaster happens. You also need to exercise your way to get there. You need to exercise your way to get there. How better to exercise it than to have 3 routes to go on? To have 3 different routes to travel to get to any one or all 3 of those emergency evacuation sites. Okay? You need to practice that. Stay off the main routes. Stay off of highways. Stay off of highways. You don't want to get caught in a highway traffic jam. You don't want to get caught when they have a roadblock set up and are going to ask you what you're doing or where you're going. Use surface streets. Travel surface streets for as much as possible. Stay off of the main drags to avoid roadblocks or traffic jams. If there's a traffic jam, you're going to get caught in it, and if you don't have enough gas, you're screwed. If you don't have enough gas, you're screwed. That's why we always tell people to top up your tanks as much as possible. Keep your gas tanks in your cars as full as possible. because it's not going to take much of a traffic jam and your car idling for a long period of time and no gas stations around where you're at and you're stranded. And many people going to be stranded on those very highways. Stay away from traffic jams as much as possible. Stay away from major highways as much as possible. You don't want to get caught there. Okay? Charlene Savant is saying, do not depend on GPS. Don't depend on GPS navigation if the grid goes down. You need to have paper maps. You need to have paper maps. Now, you're talking to someone who has these things figured out. Buy paper maps. Put those paper maps in gallon Ziploc bags. That way those paper maps will be kept good. On those paper maps, draw out with your favorite color, not a magic marker, but just a marker. Draw in different colors your main route, your secondary route, and your other route. 3 different routes on where you're going to go. Okay? That way you have it planned out on your map. You won't have to guess. You won't have to wonder which way is the best. That's why I said drive those routes before the disaster happens. Know the speed limits. Don't violate speed limits, because then if there are police around, you'll get stopped. And if they see a 72-hour kid or anything else that suggests that you're trying to evacuate your area, you're going to be screwed. You may lose some of your belongings because the cops are going to take it. Yes, there are dirty cops. Yes, there are dirty cops, but if they're not dirty cops, the government agencies will tell the police to confiscate what you have. They're going to want to control you. They're going to control you. Richard Smith says his gear is mostly military gear. A lot of my gear is military gear as well, but don't wear, and I'm going to say this again, do not wear military gear. Do not wear camouflage gear. Because most people, most cops or other first responders, including the National Guard, if they're there at a traffic block, they're going to ask you what you're doing, where you're going. They're going to want to ask you for your identification, especially if you look like you're military. My gear does not look like military gear from the outside. My backpacks do not look like law enforcement or military backpacks. Yes, I do have law enforcement backpacks. I don't have military looking backpacks at all. I do have plastic carry-ons, plastic covered carry-ons that I can pick up and go with gear inside. Okay? Don Patovis here in the chat just put something up that I think is very important. Clothing for the season. Each season, go through your gear and make sure you have clothing for the season. You don't want to have thin little shirts when it's 40 below zero outside. When it's very cold outside, and it can happen. Okay? Those of you in the chat, Don Patok is putting up some great information. Copy that information. Copy that information for yourselves. You're going to need what he's putting up here. It's great stuff, guys. It's great stuff. Now, I need to have you assure yourself that others will respond properly, even if you are not at home. Those people that are taking care of your family members, your wife, your disabled father, mother, or other relative, your children. Make sure that those that are at your home are going to be adequately able to take care of your loved ones when you're not at home during the earthquake. or other disaster. Make sure you get training. Make sure your babysitters have emergency response training. You need to have a first aid class. Take a first aid class and a CPR class. I used to teach those classes. You can call your local Red Cross chapter and take a first aid class and or a CPR class. Catherine Sigerson says her winters are too cold. I agree. Depending on where you're living, especially in Canada, it gets cold. I used to live in Fargo, North Dakota, south of where Catherine lives. We had temperatures 40 to 80 below zero sometimes in Fargo. I know Canada gets very cold. Okay? Get training on how to use a fire extinguisher. Go to your fire department and get training on how to use a fire extinguisher. Keep your training current. Training will help you to keep calm when everybody else is losing their own heads. Learn how to keep calm and know what to do when an earthquake occurs. Discuss earthquakes and other events with your family members, those people that you live with. Everyone should know exactly what to do in case you're not together. Every one of your family members should know what to do when you're not together. Discuss this. Discuss earthquakes ahead of time to reduce fear and anxiety. And that lets everyone else know how to respond. Make sure everyone knows how to respond. Something else that you need to do before the earthquake occurs is talk to your insurance agent. Talk to your insurance agent. Different areas have different requirements for earthquake protection. Study locations of active earthquake faults. Study the location of active earthquake faults. In some cases, we've talked about this with you before, but you need to look for things that are around you. You need to look for things around you. I don't know where you live. I can't tell everything that's going on where you live. Only you can do that. Study the locations of active faults where you're at, if you are at risk. Consider purchasing earthquake insurance. Consider purchasing earthquake insurance. Richard Smith is here in the chat saying CB, ham radio, or GMRS radios too. I agree. Okay? During an earthquake, drop, cover, and hold on. We've talked about that. Move only a handful of steps to a nearby safe place. Don't go any more than 10 steps away from where you're presently at in order to get to a safe place. If you do, you're cutting your own arm off to save your face. Try to be safe. It's very dangerous to try to leave a building during an earthquake because objects could fall on you. Great big huge rocks on the side of buildings could fall off the side of buildings. Great big huge cinder blocks and brick can fall off of buildings. If it's not attached to the side of buildings, something could actually fall off the top of a building. Don't go running outside of a building during the shaking. Many fatalities occur when people run outside of buildings, only to be killed by falling debris from collapsing walls. In the United States, buildings are safer here than almost anywhere else. In Japan has been practicing earthquake safety for years. Yes, a lot of their buildings are built to earthquake standards where they are. Okay? But you're safer to stay where you are at than run outside during the shaking. If you are in bed, hold on and stay there. Protect your head with a pillow. If you're able to, crawl underneath the mattress. Crawl underneath the mattress and take the pillow with you. Okay? You are less likely to be injured staying where you're at. Broken glass on the floor has caused injuries to those who rolled to the floor or tried to get to doorways. Again, keep good heavy-duty shoes right next to your bed. Okay? If you're outdoors, find a clear spot away from buildings, trees, street lights, power lines, street signs, power poles, light poles. Stay away from those. Drop to the ground as close as possible and stay there until the shaking stops. Injuries can occur from falling trees, from falling street lights, power poles, power lines, or building debris. If you are in a vehicle, pull over to a clear location and stop, and stay there with your seatbelt fastened until the shaking is stopped. Tree lines, trees, power lines, poles, street signs, and other overhead items may fall during earthquakes. Stopping will help reduce your risk. Now, I want to tell you a short story about something that happened to me over in Lakeside, California. I lived there in Lakeside. At the time, I was single. I was dating a girl who lived just down and across the street from me. I had actually pulled my pickup truck over on her side of the street, waiting for her to get home. Well, guess what? It just happened to be an earthquake. I saw the power pole in front of me off to my right side swaying with the shaking like this. I looked in my outside left or right rear view mirror and I saw the power pole behind me doing this as well. During that shaking, I was pressing the brake pedal because I thought it was moving. I was not moving. My vehicle had been turned off. The engine was off. As soon as I figured the engine was on, or engine was off, I turned it on and got away from those power poles because they looked like they were about to snap. If you're near any power poles during an earthquake, get away from those power poles. Those power poles could snap and fall on your vehicle and kill you. Don't do that. If you're going to stop, stop in an area that is safe. Stopping will help reduce your risk of anything else happening. A hard-top vehicle will protect you from flying debris. A hard-top vehicle will help you protect you from flying or falling objects. Once the shaking is stopped, proceed with caution. Avoid bridges. Avoid highway or road ramps that might have been damaged by the quake. If you're indoors, stay there until the shaking stops and you're sure it's safe to exit the building. More injuries happen when people move during the shaking of an earthquake. After the shaking is stopped, if you go outside, move quickly away from the building to prevent injury from falling objects or having the building all of a sudden collapse and fall on you. Get away from that building. Stay away from power poles. Stay away from light poles. Stay away from trees. Stay away from windows. Windows can shatter with such force that you can be injured from several feet away. In a high-rise building, expect the fire alarms and sprinklers to go off during a quake. This frequently happens. Earthquakes frequently cause fire alarm and fire sprinklers systems to go off, even if there is no fire. Even if there is no fire, those systems can go off. Check for and extinguish if you can and have the training to do so. Check for and extinguish any small fires. If exiting, use the stairs in the building. If you exit the building, use the stairs to get through from the higher floors. If you are in a coastal area, move to higher ground. If you are in a coastal area, move to higher ground. Tsunamis often created by earthquakes. If you are in a mountainous area or near unstable slips or cliffs, be alert for falling rocks or other debris that could be loosened by the earthquake. Landslides happen very commonly after earthquakes. After the earthquake, check yourself for any injuries. You could have been injured without hardly even knowing it. Often people tend to check others without checking for their own injuries. You will be better able to care for others if you are not injured, or if you have received first aid for your injuries. Okay? Protect yourself from further danger by putting on long pants. Putting on long pants, a long sleeve shirt, even in the heat of the day. Long pants and a long sleeve shirt before and or during an earthquake. Sturdy shoes and work gloves. Sturdy shoes and leather work gloves. This will protect you from further injury from broken objects. After you've taken care of yourself, help the injured or trapped persons. If you have in your area and the phones still work, call 911. And then give first aid when appropriate. Do not try to move any seriously injured people unless they are in immediate danger of further injury and or death. Again, do not move any injured people unless they are in immediate danger of further injury and or death. Look for and extinguish any small fires. Eliminate fire hazards. Put out small fires quickly using available resources. That will prevent those fires from spreading. Fire is the most common hazard following an earthquake. Fires followed the San Francisco earthquake in 1906 and of 1980. Fires followed those earthquakes for 3 days, causing even more damage than the earthquake itself. Leave the gas on at the main valve. Leave your gas on at the main valve unless you smell gas or think it's leaking. Then turn it off. There's a little valve on the outside next to your gas meter. There's a little valve. You can find a wrench or a heavy-duty set of pliers. If the valve is like this, the gas is on. When you find the valve, you might turn it like that. That will shut off the gas line. When the valve is up like this, following the same direction of the pipe, the gas is on. When you turn it off, you're going to turn off like this, where the valve crosses that pipe. Then you'll know that the gas has been turned off. Okay? It may be weeks or months before professionals can turn the gas back on. Do not, absolutely do not turn the gas on yourself again. Once you've turned it off, leave it off until a professional or a fire department person can turn it back on, and then only after they have checked for gas leaks. Let the professionals turn the gas back on using the correct procedures. Explosions have caused injuries and death from homeowners and other people that have improperly turned their gas back on by themselves. Don't do it. Clean up any spilled medicines, bleaches, gasoline, or other flammable liquids immediately, and do it carefully. Avoid the hazard of a chemical emergency. Open closets and cabinet doors cautiously, as the contents of those cupboards and cabinets or closets may have shifted during the shaking of an earthquake, and those contents could fall on and hurt you, creating further damage and injuries to yourself or your home. Inspect your home for damage. Get everyone out if your home is unsafe. Aftershocks following earthquakes can cause further damage to unstable buildings. Okay? Be careful. If your home has experienced damage, get out before aftershocks happen. Help your neighbors who may need special assistance. Neighbors that may be handicapped. Okay? Please. Help neighbors who may require special assistance. Elderly persons and people with disabilities may require additional assistance. People who care for them or who have large families may also need additional assistance during emergency situations. Listen to a portable battery-operated radio or television. Listen to a portable battery-operated radio or television. Remember the AM, FM weather radios that we've shown you here? Make sure you have one of those, and make sure it has batteries in it, and make sure it works. If the electricity is out, this may be the only source of information that you could have. Local radio and local officials provide the most appropriate advice for your particular situation. Expect aftershocks. Each time you feel one, drop cover and hold on. Aftershocks frequently occur minutes, days, weeks, and even months after an earthquake. Watch out for fallen power lines or broken gas lines. Stay out of damaged areas. Hazards caused by earthquakes are often difficult to see, and you could be easily injured. Stay out of damaged buildings. If you are away from home, return only when authorities say it is safe. Damaged buildings may be destroyed by aftershocks following the main quake. Again, use battery-operated radios. Use battery-operated lanterns or flashlights to inspect your homes. Kerosene lanterns, torches, candles, and matches may tip over or ignite flammables inside your home or building. Inspect the entire length of chimneys carefully for damage. Unnoticed damage could lead to fire or injury from falling debris during an aftershock. Cracks in chimneys can be the cause of a fire years later. Take pictures of the damage, both to the house, to your house, and the contents. This will help you during an insurance claim. Avoid smoking inside or around the outside of any building. Gas may have accumulated that you may not have smelled or seen after an earthquake. Do not smoke or light a match anywhere near a building after an earthquake. Smoking in confined areas can cause fires. Don't do it. When entering buildings, use extreme caution. Building damage may have occurred where you least expect it. Carefully watch every step you take. Examine your walls, your floors, your doors, your staircases, and your windows to make sure the building is not in danger of collapse. Let me tell you that again. Examine your walls, your floors, your doors, your staircases, and your windows to make sure that the building you're in, your home, is not in danger of collapsing. If you see cracks in your walls, stay away from it. If you see cracks in the walls, cracks in your floors, cracks in the doors, or cracks in the staircases, stay away from there. Stay away and don't get anywhere near there until authorities can make it safe for you. Check for gas leaks. If you smell gas or hear a blowing or hissing sound, open a window and quickly leave the building. Turn off the gas. Using that outside main valve right next to the gas meter, turn it off if you can. And call the gas company from your neighbor's home. Call the gas company and or the fire department to come out and inspect that home. Okay? If you turn off the gas for any reason, do not turn it on again yourself. Call a professional. Call a professional. Look for electrical system damage to your home or your building. If you see sparks or broken or frayed wires, or if you smell burning insulation, turn off the electricity at the main fuse box, the main circuit breaker panel. If you have to step in water to get to the fuse box or circuit breaker, call an electrician first for advice. Check for sewage and water line damage. If you suspect sewage lines are damaged, avoid using the toilets and call a plumber. If water pipes are damaged, contact the water company and avoid using water from the tap as it may be contaminated. You can obtain safe water from undamaged water heaters or by melting ice cubes. Or if you do like I have, and I have other water available. My wife and I store other water, so we have water in case of emergency. Watch for loose plaster. Watch for loose drywall and ceilings that could fall. Use a telephone. Use your telephone only to report life-threatening emergencies. Stay off your phones. Stay off your cell phones. Let emergency first responders have the cell phones. If you must do anything to talk to anybody, use text messaging only. Even the police and fire departments now can receive text messages from you if there's an emergency. Use text messaging only. Let the law enforcement and first responders have the bandwidth from the cell phones. Telephone lines are frequently overwhelmed in disaster situations. They need to be clear for emergency calls to be able to get through. Watch your animals. Watch your animals closely. Leash your dogs and place them in a fenced yard. The behavior of pets may change dramatically after an earthquake. Normally quiet, friendly dogs and cats may become aggressive or very defensive. Watch your animals. Watch your animals. Does anyone here have any questions about anything else we've said? Does anybody have any questions about anything that we said tonight? Again, I'm happy to take any questions and help you. That's why I came on the air tonight, mostly to be able to answer questions from all of you, because we've talked a lot about earthquakes, and we know for a fact they're going to happen. A major earthquake is going to happen on the pneumatic fault probably within the next 2 years. Within the next 5 years, we're going to see a major earthquake on the Cascadia subduction zone. Fact. It's not going to be 10, it's not going to be 20, it's not going to be 50 years, as some of these people are saying. There's plenty of evidence to show that these major earthquakes are about to happen. Okay? Now, my buddy Don Patoka has put up something in the chat that's very important. For every pound of knowledge, it takes 2 pounds or more of common sense to make it work. Common sense is like deodorant for the folks that need it most but seldom use it. Common sense is like deodorant. The folks who need it most seldom use it. Okay? Please, folks, pay attention to what we talked to you tonight. If you have any questions, go back through this video after it's over. This video in and of itself will help you. This video in and of itself will help you. Any vehicle that we have here on YouTube that has preparedness in it will help you. And yes, after this program is over, I'm going to put preparedness in the title as well. That way you know it's very important to check this video out. Okay? Also, something that's very important that I found out from my experience. Be slow to anger and quick to smile, because people are going to wonder what you're up to. But it's not just that. Be slow to anger. Anybody that's out there will respond very poorly to anger. Anyone that's out there will respond very poorly to anger, including cops. Do not put yourself in a position to get arrested because you're angry. Stay calm. Stay calm, especially when everybody else is losing their heads. Okay? Richard Smith is saying NASA's talking about a big asteroid. They're talking about an asteroid that's going to miss the Earth this time. The asteroid they're talking about is going to miss the Earth this time. But by 2036, when it returns, it probably will hit the Earth. Scientists and space analysts are working on situations to try to make that asteroid go away. Okay? That's what's going on. I want to thank everyone for being here. I want to thank all of our mods. Let's give a hand to our mods. We love our mods here. We love everybody here. We love everybody here. You folks are my family, and I love you very, very much. I love you very, very much. If you have questions, don't be afraid to send me an email. Don't be afraid to send me an email. My Proton email does not work anymore, but my Gmail does. rltnspdema@gmail.com works. If you have questions, send me an email. Those of you that have my telephone number, don't hesitate to drop me a line. Number one, I love hearing from you. Number two, you are my family, and I care for you a lot. I love you very much. Demon Catman says, standing ovation for me. Thank you so much, Dean. I appreciate that. Now, I want to leave you with a scripture. One of my favorite scriptures. This comes from 1 Corinthians, chapter 2 and chapter 3 here. Chapter 2, verse 9. But it is written, Eye hath not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered into the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him. Isn't that profound? But what man knoweth the things of a man, save the spirit of man which is in him? Even so the things of God knoweth no man, but the Spirit of God. We must have the Spirit of God with us. We need to have the Spirit of God with us, ladies and gentlemen. In closing, chapter 3, verses 1 and 2. And I, brethren, could not speak unto you as unto spiritual, but as unto carnal, even as unto babes in Christ. I have fed you with milk, not with meat. For hitherto you were not able to hear it, neither yet now are ye able. Tonight I've given you a lot of information. I hopefully have given you milk so that you are able to use it. I hopefully have given you milk so you're able to use it. You may not be ready for heavy-duty meat. Please, folks, please take this for the meaning it is given it. Okay? Please. I've wanted to bless your lives, and I hope that's exactly what we've done tonight. I wanted to bless your lives with what we had. I wanted this as a question and answer session. That's what I believe we've had, is a question and answer session. We have 71 likes. Please, folks, before you leave tonight, up that to at least 100, 120 to 200 likes. YouTube looks at likes as one of the analytic factors whether they're going to allow anybody else from YouTube to see this program. They also look at the amount of time that you spent here on the chat, the amount of time that you've been chatting, and also the amount of time that you've been here watching this program. All that figures into their analytical factor whether they're going to allow this program to be seen by anybody outside of us. I love you, folks. I love you. Again, if you want to support our program, you can go over to our 2 PayPal locations. They're not here underneath the video tonight in our program description, but within 10 minutes after we get off the air, they will be. You can go over to our PayPal and help us and support us by PayPal or our Cash App. You can also support us by sending us cards and letters, and I love cards and letters. I love to find out what you're doing, what you're thinking. Sometimes you give me ideas that I can share with other people. I love that. You can also stick support inside a card or a letter and send it to us as well. I love that as well. Brothers and sisters, I love you very much. I love you so much. God bless you. God be with you until we meet again. We will see you on the next program. Heidi Petrick just gave us another $10 super chat. God bless you, Heidi. Thank you for that super chat. God bless you. I'm giving you another EMA sticker on your super chat. I'm giving you a like for it as well. Thank you ever so much for your support, Heidi. Heidi sent us PayPal support. She's given us support in the super chats. She sent us cards and letters. Heidi, I love you very much. Thank you so much. We definitely need that help pay the bills to keep this program in the air. Thank you so much, everyone. I love you very much. We will see you on the other side. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. on Emergency Management Associates here, 6 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. God be with you until we meet again. We'll see you on the other side. See you soon. Much love. Thanks, Heidi. God bless you.